cease until we get to this point. I am now fighting to say, in spite of being in the minority, in spite of times have changed, we must have a police and justice legislation. It is imperative, it is necessary, it is without ceasing, and we need you to have the wind beneath our wings. I always say that we can do two things at once. And I mean that we can support our law enforcement and respect our fellow brothers and sisters, many of whom are our family members. And we have done some of that in Houston. We have probably made greater strides. We're not perfect, but we do have more listening ears with the mayor, the chief finner. And I will say that because I'm on the phone all the time. But at the same time, as we have a mayor and a city council that listens, and a police department that has, of its own accord, attempted to find the parameters that warrant the consent we give to be governed, and the consent we give, in essence, as we are being governed, to have the mutual respect. You know what I always say? I want my police officers of all kinds, and as a member of the Judiciary Committee, I oversee the DEA, the ATF, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals. I know them, the Secret Service. I was in Colombia when the Secret Service had a valley and not a mountain. And I fix problems, and I take no backseat to anyone of my affection and respect for law enforcement. But at the same time, you will not silence me when it comes to protecting the people of this nation who are owed the constitutional privilege and rights to be able to be protected. And that means that cases that we need to go forward so you can have justice for a loved one who's been a victim, at the same time, you want to make sure that you have a system of justice. And just for a moment, while I know how lucky we are to be here in Houston and Harris County, for the general sense of the elected officials that govern law enforcement, they want what is best for them and for us. But listen to this 3-year report, if I might, just briefly, of the Louisiana Metropolitan Police Department. This report is 3 years in coming. Would anyone argue that no American should be subjected to this? That's what I use. I don't say us, it's obvious, they think it's us, but no American should be subjected to this. No American. And I will fight for you no matter what your background and what you've been through. And those who fight for victims, I'm standing with you. And law enforcement, I'm standing with you. But tell me whether or not this warrants change. The LMPD uses dangerous neck restraints against people who pose no threat. LMPD uses overall excessive force in violation of the Fourth Amendment. LMPD deploys police dogs against people who pose no threat and allow dogs to continue biting people after they surrender. LMPD's use of tasers is unreasonable and unsafe. LMPD uses takedowns, strikes, and other bodily force disproportionate to the threat or resistance. LMPD officers unnecessarily escalate encounters, leading to excessive force. And LMPD's weak oversight contributes to the use of excessive force. Who would we be? We did not entrust our officials to find a way to ensure that all Americans receive the justice and the treatment that they deserve. Every one of us adhere to the principles of being law-abiding. Some stumble, some are absolutely violent. And we want them off our streets and away from our neighbors and our neighborhoods, and no one denies that. But we must find that balance. And these kinds of actions warrant that balance. So we do not have Breonna Taylor, bright and beautiful young woman who is ready to take her wings and be maybe even a doctor. Maybe even a doctor. George Floyd, our native son. When you go to CUNY Homes, there are people there that said he was Big George. He took me under his wings. He shared his affection for sports with us. He took his brothers on trips when he played basketball. He played football. He was a hero at Yates and deserved to have a second chance. Or Eric Garner, who after his death lost his daughter fighting so hard for him. All lives are not perfect, but who are we to judge that their lives should be extinguished? So when I think of this evening with so many of you who have fought for justice, who are truth sayers, who have rescued people, who we look to say, we can't find our loved one. Every time I see EquiSearch out there, I'm praying that you find it. I feel your passion when something ugly has happened. You may not see me, but I've got your back. I monitor it and I watch it. Mothers who drown in cars and can't be found for days. Sons found in bayous. Children taken, the little one that was found in Oklahoma. You've just been on the battlefield. We're so grateful for that. There's so many people that need you. On Fox News, you have been a truth sayer. And I don't say I disagree. That we need to have a balanced justice system. And families who wait forever and ever for their trial to come up are in pain. I want us to find the common ground. And I want us to recognize that when we talk about how things can be improved as I close. Just let me give you a little bit of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act so that when the words are heard, no one is going to say, we worked hard on this. We're so sensitive that we had to do it in a shocking backdrop, something most Americans had never seen. We've never seen this up close. We watched it in plain color and living color. Imagine this family that lives this over and over again. Again, I don't know each of your stories, Miss Jack's story, what you're living through. But we've got to find a way. My job is to cure it, to work for it, to be your wind, your back, to be able to ensure that. So just listen to some of the aspects of George Floyd so you won't go off and say, what bill is that? Improving data collection so you can know of those few officers across America that have done things so they don't move from police department to police department. Giving them use of force standards. Limiting the use of no-knock entries unless an agent and police officer feels that their life is in jeopardy. Credentialing police agencies, meaning one that I worked on forever called the Law Enforcement Trust and Integrity, giving money to the 18,000 police departments to help them rise up. If they're 2 or 1, and giving them money so they can get credentialed. They can get additional training. Maybe they don't have that resource in their department. Making sure that they get federal grants so that we can work with communities for prevention and intervention. And ending violence. And helping officers who should not have the burden of so many home calls, that they should have some crisis intervention persons, more mental health support. Yes. The most dangerous call for an officer is a domestic violence call. From New York to Houston, we've lost officers in domestic violence calls. As I say, I want to see these are the aspects of the George Floyd bill. Accountability is part of it, and determining standards of behavior. Because this audience is who it is, I thought I'd take a moment to just give you a little bit of our work. I won't go into the work dealing with those incarcerated or the legislation I wrote. There are more women being incarcerated now than any other time. And so I passed a law to allow pregnant women to, they're still incarcerated, to give birth and to bond with their baby and to have that baby for at least a 3-month period. And we now have a pilot of that in the Bureau of Federal Prisons to ensure that women are not separated. People indicate that women who have babies and are separated, recidivism for that child is more likely than any other. We see problems and we try to get resolutions. So I'm grateful for even the moment of honoring. I want to give honor back to all of you, because without you in this room, our stories could not be told. You cannot be comfort to the victims. You cannot be strength for law enforcement and our neighborhoods. You cannot recognize the Floyd family when they come and give them the comfort they need, and others unnamed. I see the mothers all the time. Eric Garner's mother, Breonna Taylor's mother. So many of them. Young brother Rice, Trayvon Martin. President Obama said it could be his son, and so many unnamed. I see their mothers all the time. Michael Brown. They will always live with the scene of the loss of their child. And so I want us to bridge the gap of what side are you on? Are you on law enforcement, or are you on this side? I'm on America's side. And if you have pain, then I feel it. If you're law enforcement and need support, then I feel it. And if we stop this dividing line and get at the table to be able to work together, to know that everyone has that human dignity, that right to live. Tyree Nichols' mother wanted her son to get 100 yards down to her house. Sergeant Preston's older mother wanted him to not lose his life at a domestic violence call, and other officers that we have lost. But we will only find justice if we find that common ground. And I'm so grateful to you, Ms. Jack, and for helping the stories be told. I'm grateful to the honorees. And if I might, at this moment, thank you for giving me this, and hoping that I see people who will take the words of John Lewis, my dear beloved brother. We became almost sister and brother on the floor of the house. We sat together for the years that he was there. And I'm guided by his march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Bloody Sunday, and the fact that they came back that next week to make that march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. They didn't do it in anger. They didn't do it in violence. They did it non-violently. And they did it as Americans. 30,000 people came on that next march, and they didn't all look like John Lewis. That is the America I cherish and love. And his words are that we never give in, we never give out, we never give up. And Harriet Tubman says in this wonderful, I think it's you, this wonderful Women's History Month, if you hear the dogs coming, you keep on going. If you see the lights behind you, you keep on going. If you hear the sounds and the noise behind you, you keep on going. Because if you want a taste of freedom, you keep on going. God bless you. I'm not going to read it in its entirety, but you are deserving because of the Prevention Zone Incorporated and your vision to bring us together. You organized this great circles of excellence in criminal justice reception and recognition, recognizing individuals who had a direct, positive, and significant effect on the criminal justice system and their commitment to improving the criminal justice system. So you, early on, accepted the fact that you could be on many different sides and you're improving the criminal justice system. Thank you for bringing law enforcement, victims, and others together. And also, as a veteran parole officer, you've seen it firsthand. This is say you're deserving of the commendation, respect, and admiration of the United States Congress. Sheila Jackson Lee, Member of Congress. this one. Just want to make sure.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Right here, guys. Straight ahead.
Am I?